Thanks to the Regional Independents for bringing forward this important motion, and I note it's, I think, the second time they brought forward this motion, which indicates the failure of the government to fully and adequately respond to this critical issue about equality for people with disabilities when it comes to transport. Equality to live independently and participate fully in all aspects of life and to provide the transport necessary is a right for people with disabilities, and it is not a right that is currently being vindicated. In all the proposals in this motion to develop a plan cross departments, to introduce a new integrated transport scheme for people with disabilities, to provide funding and introduce a comprehensive transport support scheme, to replace the mobility allowance and motorised transport grant, which we've been promised for over a decade, to reinstate and amend the primary medical certificate process, to reintroduce the payment of a cash allowance like the mobility allowance, and to invest in transport infrastructure to support accessibility, mobility and inclusion for people with disabilities. So I want to agree with all of those things and then just highlight a couple. And whenever I speak about these issues, I first of all would always want to pay tribute to the Access for All group. Bernard Mulvaney, his daughter Sophia is a wheelchair user, and Sean O'Kelly, also a wheelchair user, who've been campaigning particularly around access to the DART, the fact that the lifts never work, the difficulty in therefore having any ability to plan any sort of plans to go anywhere because you don't know if the lifts are going to work. Because of their campaigning, there now are some new carriage stock on the DART, which they say is a good improvement, but they point out that on intercity rail services that is not the case. We still have old stock which is not suitable, and for intercity bus and rail, people with mobility issues or wheelchair users are having to give 24 or 48 hours notice to go somewhere. So they don't have the same equality as we do to simply go to another part of the country if they wish to. So I just want to stress those, and also the issue of only one wheelchair user can use a Dublin bus at any time. There's not enough accommodation for more than one wheelchair user. That's completely unacceptable. So I want the Minister to address those. The other group I want to shout out for, who I have many times, is the Accessible Community Transport Southside Limited. It's not so long ago, the Minister may remember, this is a not-for-profit, essentially voluntary organisation set up to provide door-to-door minibus services for people who cannot access the mainstream public transport system because of their wheelchairs or particular mobility issues. This service is absolutely critical for them to access services, to have a social life, to go anywhere. They were fighting for their lives, literally, as a service, and believed they were going to close down for the want of €50,000 to replace 3 of their 4 buses, which they didn't have the money to do, and also that their ability to raise money through charity had been severely curtailed by COVID. They didn't get the support they needed from the government, and eventually it was a local entrepreneur who stepped in and gave them the money to buy the buses and to keep them afloat. And the point they make is, why on earth is the Department of Transport not linked into all of this to provide an integrated transport service? Where is Eamon Ryan? Where is the Department of Transport Service? Because they're the ones who are responsible for providing public transport. And the irony is that their service is advertised on Transport for Ireland, even though no funding is provided by the Department of Transport. It's absolutely shocking, and something needs to be done about it.